We're going to get into this SAG strike, also the writer strike. They're combined kind of as one now. For those who are not aware, it's not just the writers in Hollywood that have gone on strike, but the actors, the SAG members have also decided to go on strike. That is Screen Actors Guild. And I want to say something before we get into this story, because I think there is a misconception in reference to actors in Hollywood. I think a lot of times when we think about actors, we think about actors that we know, the ones that are popular, like a Susan Sarandon or a Fran Drescher, like a Will Smith or Tom Cruise, those types of actors. But I think it's important to note that the majority of actors in Hollywood are actually not known. They're not famous. They're not making millions of dollars for a movie. They're working actors. They're the ones that they pick up as many acting gigs as they can, but they also have a full-time job because they're not getting those big gigs like a Will Smith will get, so that they can just do acting full-time to pay their bills. So I want to start off by saying that the majority of actors in Hollywood are not millionaires. They're not popular. Most of them, you don't even know their name, but they're needed, right? They may have extra roles. They may have acting roles where they just say one line. By the way, if you have a line, you get paid more. A friend of mine actually did extra work for a couple of years. She was like, cool, $500, and she didn't say anything. She just had to walk among a crowd of people. So that's just something to keep in mind, that a lot of these people are waiting tables or they're working retail. They have regular full-time jobs, and this is something that they do on the side. They're trying to build their resume so that they can get to that type of level of like a Will Smith. I want to start with this clip here from Case Study QB asking how long SAG-AFTRA hold out. Actors have to earn a minimum of $26K a year to qualify for health insurance. So this is another thing I think that may be surprising to people. Again, these are the working actors who are not doing this full time.
Hey, ho, ho, corporate greed has got to go.
Sure, there's picket line pride, the solidarity, support for one another. But there's also real concern, whether it's actors or writers. How long can they hold out?
It's a hot labor summer out here.
I haven't ever paid the bills acting.
Ben Kaufman from Columbus, married, no kids. His working wife helps pay the $2,200 a month rent on their one-bedroom apartment while he...
First of all, problem number one, a one-bedroom apartment that costs over $2,000 a month. But this is the reality in America, right? That's not uncommon here in Boston. Actually, you might be kind of lucky if you find something in that price. But this is the reality. Like one-bedroom apartments are costing over $2,000. That's not just LA.
He tries to make it as an actor. This year, he estimates he earned about $600 from background work. Meantime,
I'm applying for everything. Like I think I got a job at AutoZone, and I'll still work catering events. And if I have mornings free, I'll come out here and walk this fucking line. Like, I don't know. Like I've been 15 days late on rent like twice in the past 3 months, and like thank God the landlord hasn't cracked down on us.
His worries, no doubt shared by the vast majority of those on strike who don't make big money. Some of those who do, though, here as well, because solidarity is real, as are their memories of their own struggles. We spoke with Kristen Wiig.
It's very important that we're out here and that we're all standing together. There's so much on the line, and we've got a long way to go, but we're standing strong. And yeah, a lot of people will be out of work.
A lot of people like Ben Kaufman, one of some 160,000 from SAG-AFTRA on strike. People with lives and dreams interrupted, staying union strong for now, but
it's not something you can depend on. Like I said, like I'm 40. I graduated from college in 06. Like I've never paid the bills acting. I've been in the union 2 years. I'm looking to further my opportunities, and like right now, this is like taking some away from me.
Actors.
I just want to pause here for a second. When he said that it's not something that you can depend on, I will also add the same thing in reference to waiting tables. Now, I waited tables for years, along some other odd jobs, but you can't really rely on that either. Like some nights, like you'll do really well and you may come home with like $150, $200 for a Friday night shift or a Saturday night shift. And then there's some nights where it's slow when you don't know that this is going to be a slow Friday, right? So it's not just this profession. There are other professions where it's the same way, where you're kind of a part of this gig economy, so to speak, and you really are depending on people showing up in order for you to get paid. So it's just something to think about there.
Have to earn a minimum of $26,000 a year to qualify for health coverage. One SAG-AFTRA board member estimates that only 12% of the entire union qualifies for that. In Hollywood, Phil Schuman, Fox 11 News.
Only 12% of union members from SAG actually qualify for health insurance. You see, again, if we had health care for everyone in this country, if we had a Medicare for all, if we had universal health care, this wouldn't be an issue. The fact that you have to make a certain amount of money in order to qualify for health insurance, it's almost like they're punishing people for being working class. That's what it's like. Like, that's the craziest thing I've ever heard. Sorry, you didn't make $26,000 this year, so you don't get any health insurance. You know, how is this allowed to happen in a country like the United States? Now, Fran Drescher has been very vocal about this. For those who don't remember her, she was the star of a show during the 90s called The Nannies. I used to watch that show like back in the day. It was a sitcom. And she's being very vocal about this. Now, I haven't seen her do a lot of acting, gigs recently, but she came out in support, not just to support the actors, but also to support the writers. And Morning Joe interviewed her. Now, shout out to Case Study QB for this clip. There are 4 of these clips, so we're just going to get started with the first one here.
Joining us now, president of the Screen Actors Guild, Fran Drescher. Really good to have you on the show. We've been watching everything that you've had to say, and also what Bob Iger had to say. And I'm curious what your response is to the fact that he says that you guys have a level of expectation that is not realistic.
The man makes $78,000 a day. So, plus a $20 million bonus. He is the last person to talk about what's realistic when the majority of my members can't even meet their health insurance minimum. And I think that he never attended one single meeting at the negotiation. He was completely absent.
We're going to pause here because I want you to see what these people are making. So think about this. They were told that what they're asking for is unreasonable. So you mean to tell me it's unreasonable to give your employees health insurance unless they make $26,000 a year? Their health is only valuable depending on how much money they make a year. But look how much these executives are making. Warner Brothers executive is making over, 490? Is this per day? Oh, highest paid Hollywood executives in the last 5 years. Okay, so Warner Brothers executive is making over 490 million. This one I can't read it. I think this says Endeavor is making over 300 million. Netflix, Reed Hastings is making over 200 million. Walt Disney's making over 190 million. Netflix, Ted Sarandos, over 190 million. Endeavor, Patrick is making over 143 million. Paramount, Joseph is making over 150 million. Comcast is making over, I think that's 170 million. Fox, Lachlan Murdoch is making over 171 million. And Fox, Rupert Murdoch is making over 174 million. So it seems like to me, it's really easy if you're them to complain when you're making that kind of money. Keep in mind, they are way over the threshold to have the health insurance.
Except to make that recording at the Camp for Billionaires where they all arrive on their private jets. So, it's like you can't even talk about reality with this, and I don't really want to make it about him. This is a workers' movement, and it's about greed and trying to, they get bonuses depending on shareholders' performance. And so, of course, they're going to try and squeeze everybody to make the stock go up so more people will buy stock. But when your entire business model is, the foundation for that is us, and you're trying to screw us as if you're like a land baron of feudal medieval times, and we're your serfs. You know, it's like, wake up and smell the coffee. The jig is up.
I want to pause here for a second and just add something about the shareholders. When she says shareholders, who are some of those shareholders? BlackRock is one of the shareholders, Vanguard Group, State Street Corporation. Those top three, they usually seem to find their way around. So think about that. You have to know who the shareholders are to understand why some of these decisions that are being made in the first place.
It's time for you to recognize that you have to pivot and understand that the business model has changed and the old contract no longer can be negotiated in a way that will give economically.
Okay, so let's go to part 2 here from Case. Again, shout out to Case for these clips, because he's just been doing the damn thing.
The performers, they're due.
Mm-hmm. So what is the pivot exactly? Because you hear the arguments about whether or not your likeness can be used. Is it an argument about AI? Isn't the bottom line about money? And what exactly is it that you need in order to make this strike end? And how long do you think members of the unions can stick to this strike?
Well, you know, look, we had an unprecedented strike authorization vote from our members because they're on the ground living this inequity. Not, you know, these CEOs who are living the high life. So, you know, they feel like they're at the breaking point where they can't take it anymore. Another contract for 3 more years where the minimums for the majority of the members does not reflect the amount that catches up to inflation. So in real money, what they're offering us would be less than what we were making in 2020. And that's what we're supposed to take all the way to 2026. If we need at least an 11% increase in the minimums to catch up with inflation. All other labor unions work with inflation, inflationary increases, not our union, not our contract. And so, you know, the amount of the caps are the same, where they sort of cut you off with residuals since, I think, 1980 or something. The whole thing is outdated and doesn't really apply to the new business model, which is so, streaming has so infiltrated this industry and disemboweled the old business model. So in streaming, the name of the game is subscribers. It's not about the longevity of a series. And you can see how the public is being trained to accept what's called.
Okay, let's talk about something here in reference to streaming, because I think she hit on a really good point. Netflix, for example, for them, it's about the number of Netflix subscriptions that they have. That determines whether or not they're going to be successful and make money. This is why sometimes I know some of us we've found a show on Netflix that we really loved and we don't understand why it's canceled or they're not going to bring it back for another season just because like the way it ended or whatever, right? To us, it doesn't make sense. But to Netflix, to the owners of Netflix, it does make sense because they are on a subscription model. That is how they make their money. If their subscriptions go down, there may be some cuts in reference to some of the programming that they have. And there have been a lot of complaints about that from customers saying that Netflix had this show on and they took it off, but they had this other show that they've kept on for years. There have been a lot of those complaints from Netflix customers, but you have to understand the model. And I want to touch on this issue about image and likeness. So Bass Amuse says, if you go on local news, they want your image in perpetuity too. Let's talk about image and likeness. This is something that does not only revolve around actors. this is also an issue with musicians. You see, there was this thing back in early 90s, actually probably through all the 90s, where there were a lot of the boy bands that were popping up, young artists, very, very young, like Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera, et cetera, et cetera. They kind of had like their heyday during the 90s and into the 2000s. Some of these artists found out along the way, especially those that didn't read the contract fully, that they actually did not own their image or their likeness. Now, what does that mean? That means that the record company can use their image, their face, their likeness. And if they decide that they want to make lunch boxes with your face on it, they could do that. If they want to make a Barbie doll of you, they can do that. You don't own your image or your likeness anymore. So if you decide that you want to get a haircut, you may have to actually clear that with the record company before you do so. Now, this is something that I learned watching Making the Band and a lot of VH1 Behind the Music. A lot of those behind the music stories where I found out that a lot of these artists, they signed these contracts, didn't really understand a lot of the legal jargon that was in these contracts. And so they were just excited to get a record deal, sign their name away, but also signed away their image and their likeness. This is why someone like Prince said that he was a slave to the record company. So in order to get out of his contract, he changed his name. That was actually genius. And he was known as the artist formerly known as Prince. That was actually pretty damn smart. So that is something that is important. And you also have to think about this issue with AI, where Hollywood has also played around with this a little bit too. They've already confirmed that Chat GPT can actually write scripts for them. They don't actually need these writers if they don't want to. We've seen movies where they've used older footage of Hollywood actors from like the 70s, like Star Wars, the newer Star Wars has done this, and they've taken those images and basically CGI'd it onto, a current body that is not that person to make it look like it is still that person from long ago. Technology has come a long way. But if you're an actor and you got into this business before there was streaming and before AGI has started to take off, AI started to take off the way that it has, yeah, I could see where you would say the contract needs to change, Let's get into the third clip here.
Limited series and very short episodes per season, maybe 6 or 8. If you're lucky, you get 10. And then the series maybe will go 3 or 4 if it's considered successful. When I did The Nanny, I would do some seasons we did 28 episodes, never anything less than 22 or 24. And then it continues to have a very long tail of revenue, which pays all of the people that worked on the show continuously.
Pause right there. That constant revenue coming in, this is another thing that has changed. So if you were around during the 90s like I were, and you saw these shows like Fresh Prince of Bel-Air or Full House, so those artists still get paid for the reruns that run on other networks like TNT or TBS. Nick at Night, I think it's still a thing where they show like those older shows, but the actors still are paid for that, right? Well, with streaming, that's not necessarily the case. As Fran is telling you, remember with Netflix shows, a lot of times these shows only have 8 episodes, sometimes 10. Look at a show like Stranger Things, for example, and we cringe towards the end wanting more. We binge through those episodes, right? We're able to do so. But to us, it doesn't make sense. We're like, why would you stop at 10 episodes? Why didn't you make it 14? Why didn't you make it 20? That's how we grew up watching TV. But to Netflix, it does make sense. To them, it doesn't matter if they only have 8 episodes. Again, this is all based on a subscription model to them. So that's just something you got to keep in mind. If you're the actor, and a lot of these streaming services are becoming more popular than regular television shows, well, then you don't know if you have another season. You don't know if they're going to bring you. You don't even know Netflix has canceled shows right in the middle of a season. Like, you don't know what's going to happen, but you need the work. So what do? So things do have to change.
And so once we got revenue sharing, in the form of residuals, it all worked as long as the business model was predicated on the longevity of the show because of eyeballs and ad dollars. If those two elements were there, the show would stay on. Shows stayed on 10 years. And, you know, but now it's not that way, because once the show does the heavy lifting for bringing in a new surge of subscribers, and their algorithms tell them that, you know, up after 10, it starts to go downhill. After 3-4 years, it's, you know, maybe we're making our current subscribers happy, but we're not getting more subscribers. And more subscribers is the name of the game. So we'll recondition the current subscribers to be, you know, happy or disappointed that, oh, my favorite show just ended. But wait, we'll tantalize them with another flying dragon, one more big star, one more big director that costs a fortune. And meanwhile, where is our revenue sharing on, you know, 6 or 10 episodes a season? We cannot economically live on that.
This is exactly what they do. This is exactly what Netflix does. How do they increase their subscribers? Create new shows. When Netflix brought in Stranger Things, that really increased their subscriber count, right? They don't have to keep the show. They're just trying to get the numbers in, get people to subscribe. They're not really focused so much on how many people are watching the show. How many people they're not paying attention to that. They're looking at the subscriber count. So that's what they just keep doing. They just keep bringing in all these new shows with a big name, right? And a lot of hype around it to increase the subscription revenue. And I'm going to be honest. I think over time, I don't think that's going to be a sustainable model. I think eventually people will get tired of that. People will be like, you bring in these great shows and these great actors and then you just end it. Like, why? Or you rush through it just to give it an end. Why? They'll bring in comedy specials where they've paid the comedian, like the stand-up specials, they paid the comedian like $20 million for a stand-up special, right? And it may be there for a couple of months and it's gone. So it's just like, there are some frustrations, I think, that not just the actors have with this model, but the consumers also have with this model.
And so we have to go into the other pocket, which is what the new business model dictates that was foisted upon us. We have to go into the subscriptions pocket. And we were completely stonewalled. I don't think that they thought that we were.
Yeah, this is what a lot of people, even, hold on a second, because I'm going to tell you something, even with independent media that I think you're going to find interesting. Have you noticed now, even with independent media, a lot of people are going through that subscription model where it's like, if you want to get like the full content, you have to become a subscriber, a paid subscriber. I don't mean like you guys had subscribed to my YouTube channel. I mean, like there's that paid subscription in addition to that. A lot of people have been going that route now. That's becoming more common. If you want the full thing, you got to pay to subscribe. This is exactly why, like, I personally, I don't do paywall content. Like, you guys know that. Like, I have Patreon, but I don't do like, you can only see this segment on Patreon. The reason why I don't do that is because I know a lot of people are working class and a lot of people can't afford to pay for a subscription for this show, that show, this show, that show, and all that kind of stuff. And I don't think it's fair to hide information from you. So for me, all my information is free. I don't have a paywall like on Rockfin, because to be on Rockfin, you have to do premiums every now and then. On Rockfin, like on Thursdays and Fridays, those shows will be a premium, but it's the same show I'm doing on YouTube. So I never make it so that you can't see the content and get the information. But more people have gone that route because they're trying to make money and make it more so a business. And they're like, I can make a lot more money if I have the subscribers. And also, if they're suppressed by YouTube, that's another way of getting around that. They know they have those paid subscribers. But yeah, the subscription model, I don't know. Let's go into this last Clip here.
Going to approach this problem with such an intelligent analysis of this business, but we cannot make incremental changes to an old contract that no longer applies. How much could they possibly give us? We're never going to catch up because the series and episode buys are considerably smaller. We're seeing more and more shows that don't even have series regulars on it anymore. And so it's time that we shift over. But as soon as they heard that, they stonewalled us. No. And they never opened up that door. And even now, they're punishing us because we gave them 12 unprecedented lengths of days to extend, in spite of the fact that the members were afraid that we were weakening. And in that time, all they did was dupe us into having more time to promote their summer movies because they gave us nothing in return. And so we went on strike, but we have been happy to keep negotiating, and they are acting like punishing feudal land barons where the peasants started to act up, and they said, we're not going to talk to you.
All right, Screen Actors Guild President Fran Drescher, I hear you. And knowing the value of all the actors and everybody in the industry, the writers, the people who are struggling to make ends meet, we appreciate your coming on. Please keep us posted and come back, especially when there are new developments. Fran Drescher, thank you very, very much for being on the show this morning.
Okay, so as you can tell, Fran is fired up there. Now, Hardlands Media is in the chat, says Hollywood is imploding. Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, look, it's happening all over the place. JB says, yeah, me neither. Most people are poor, working poor like me, so I don't do paywalls. Right, like that's why I don't do it. And this is not to, you know, no shade to people that do paywalls. I think most people who do that have an audience that doesn't mind paying for it, but I don't. I would never tell you guys, sorry, you can't see this unless you pay for it. What? I'm going to talk about go out there and do mutual aid for the people, and then I'm telling you, you got to pay just to see the content. No, I don't do that. Saul says Netflix stock fell 18 billion yesterday. That was your money to pay the people. Oh, okay. I didn't realize that. Now, Susan Sarandon is also out there on the lines picketing as well. Now, Susan Sarandon, I got to give her cred where cred is due, because she is an activist. Like, she was at the Medicare for All marches. She protested outside AOC's office. She was arrested recently, actually. I believe that was a Julian Assange event. Like, she goes out there and she gets out there, and she doesn't have to do that. If she wants to, she can just be an actress and pretend like none of these things are happening around her, but she chooses, you know, to get involved. So I want you to hear what she had to say about the strike.
Find an answer to streaming and to AI, which are situations that are new. So we're in an old contract for a new type of business, and it's just not working for most people.
Because just a very quick message about your words about me here today. Can you just give us a little message about
it's important. Unions are very important. I'm here because I'm in the SAG-AFTRA union. I'm also here because of the writers union and the corporate greed that the studio show has made it very difficult for people to have lives, and the issues of streaming and AI.
So notice she mentioned again some of the issues, streaming and AI, right? She said that they're making it hard for people to have a living. Again, we're not talking about people like her. We're talking about the majority of actors in Hollywood that actually are not making millions of dollars, and you don't even know their names. So yeah, like she's out there. I think that's awesome and that's great. Now I gotta say something about scabs, because we got to keep it real for just a second, okay? please don't be a scab. Meaning, don't cross the picket line. Hollywood needs writers. They're looking for writers. Don't sign up for it while they're on strike. Don't sign up for acting gigs while these actors are on strike. Don't go scabberific. Okay, is that a word? Don't go scabberific. Now, speaking of scabs, though, I'm saying this because this gentleman made this video, and I think he did such a good job about scabs. Listen to this. Get ready to laugh.
Y'all couldn't even make it a week. You couldn't even make it a week without fucking scabbing. You know how fucking crazy that is? The actors haven't even been on strike for a week. The writers have been on strike for like 70 days. But now the actors on strike, and suddenly all these film fucking influencers, these movie content creators, suddenly falling over each other to go on here with their straw man arguments and their goofy little sketches, explaining to the world why scabbing is okay. Oh, it's completely fine. You see, it's different. I'm not going to be part of the union. I'm not trying to be an act. You're a scab. Shut the fuck up. All right? You're a scab, and that's why people are going to start picking you. They're going to reach up on those scabs and start picking them out of their fucking feed. So watch out with your straw man fucking arguments and your goofy fucking sketches, you idiots. Because in 2 weeks, UPS, 340,000 UPS employees are going to go on strike. Y'all gonna get on here and start being like, I'm sorry, I'm a box truck delivery driver influencer, and just because UPS is on strike doesn't mean people like me cannot take deals to deliver things inside of our wonderful cars. So
I'm laughing because I've seen these videos.
to UPS, thank you so much to my brand deal for promoting your new UPS flavors that I can deliver here in my car. I will pay. And if you want to become a UPS driver just like me, please use my promo code I am a scab 2023 for 20% off. 20% off union level wages and benefits. That's right. Become a scab and make sure that union members can't get extra union benefits in the future. And then eventually we'll all be replaced by AI, whether it be actors or just autonomous vehicles that can drive and deliver the packages themselves. Ooh, how about instead of a live action Little Mermaid, we have a Little Mermaid that's completely staffed with drones. Wouldn't that be great? I would love to see a robot drone. That's right. Go ahead and type in SCAB 2023. Use my promo code because I'm a soulless little...
What can you say? But it's true, it's happening. People are doing that, right? They're like, this is my time, this is my opportunity. But every time there is a strike, I go back to a bigger theme, which is, do we need a general strike? If it's not UPS, if it's not John Deere, if it's not the teachers, the nurses, the writers, the actors, at the end of the day, do we need a general strike? Now, it was about 2 years ago, those of us at RBN said we do need a general strike in this country. We need to have that in order to push back against the powers that be, which is the corporations. And it seems like maybe some people in Hollywood might be feeling that way too. Maybe. Listen to this. Shout out to neoliberal tears, right? So neoliberal tears says, at Les Dog, all of us need to strike against the corporations. Listen to this. It's short, but very good.
Yeah, all of us need to strike against the fucking corporations, not just fucking SAG and the actors, the teachers. Everybody need to be fucking striking against the fucking corporations because they fucking all of us. They fucking all of us. Yeah, all of us need to strike against the fucking corporations, not just fucking SAG and the actors, the teachers. Everybody need to be fucking striking against the fucking corporations because they fucking all of us. They fucking all of us.
Something to think about. Something to think about. But I'm in favor of a general strike. Obviously, we would need a lot of mutual aid set up for that, but I am definitely in favor of that. Now, the question that continues to come my way is, what can you do to help? So Adam Conover actually answers that question. How can you help support those who are on strike right now.
So the number one question I get is, how do I support writers and actors on strike? Do I cancel my streaming subscription? What do I do? Here's the answer. Neither the Writers Guild nor SAG-AFTRA is calling for a consumer boycott right now. Instead, we're asking people to do 3 things. 1, post on social media, boost our message, say you stand with us. Number 2, follow our strike rules. Do not do the work of a striking writer or actor. That's called scabbing. We have facts on our websites that explain exactly what we're asking of non-members and what work we're asking them to refrain from. And finally, and most importantly, donate to the Entertainment Community Fund. This is an incredible nonprofit that supports writers, actors, and any crew member who needs help paying their rent or their medical bills. Every dollar you donate there will go to a writer, actor, or other entertainment worker in need that helps us stay on this picket line longer, and that helps us win. We are so grateful to all of you for your support. Thank you so much. And remember, until the strike is settled, there will be no acting and no writing. So the number one question.
Okay, so let's see what he said, because here it is. We're fighting for the survival of our profession. And you guys have been asking me, what about the demands, right? So I'm just going to make this a little bit bigger because for whatever reason, like their text is super small. But here's some of the things they're asking for. We need an 11% general wage increase in year 1 so our members can recover from record inflation during previous contract term. The response was that the most they'll give them is 5%. They're demanding a comprehensive set of provisions to grant informed consent and fair compensation when a digital replica is made of our performance is changed using AI. So again, I told you that was one of the issues they had. The response is, we want to be able to scan a performer's image, pay them for half a day's labor, then use an individual's likeness for any purpose forever without their consent. We also want to be able to make changes to principal performers' dialogue and even create new scenes without informed consent. So this is not the likeness thing. Another thing I want to say, where someone did this and I was not happy about it. I remember during one of the Super Bowl halftime shows, Justin Timberlake used a hologram of Prince during his performance. And that made me feel some kind of way, because I'm a mad Prince fan. I love me some Prince, and I've seen him live in concert. That was my dude. Okay, me and Prince was like this. But Prince never wanted his image or likeness to be used after his death. So that kind of made me feel some kind of way when I saw this hologram of Prince. What else are they asking for? How about consultations with qualified hair and makeup professionals for all performers on set to ensure equity for performers of color, and a requirement to have proper tools and equipment? The response: we will do this for principal performers, but background actors are on their own. Now, some of you may say, why is that important? It actually is important because not everybody knows how to do makeup for my complexion. Not everyone knows how to do my hair, like my type of hair, even if they are a professional hairstylist or makeup artist. That actually is true. Also, they're asking for consider this comprehensive plan for actors to participate in streaming revenue, since the current business model has eroded our residuals income. They said no. So that was just a flat no. Contribution caps haven't been raised in 40 years. Imperiling our pension and health plans, would you consider raising the caps to adjust for inflation and ensure that all performers, regardless of age or location, receive equal contributions? Here are some nominal increases nowhere near the level of inflation that won't adequately fund your health plan. Also, background child performers under 14 years age living in West Coast zone don't deserve pension contributions, which is why we haven't paid them since 1992. So with the healthcare, let's just all remember during the pandemic, the actors suffered work-wise as well. Just like we had certain shutdowns, certain states, like they had to deal with that too. So just keep that in mind. So that's an issue. Also, timelines we proposed help series regulars by limiting the increasingly long breaks between seasons and giving them some certainty as to when they'll start work again or will be released. them. Take these select few improvements that will only help a select few. And last but not least, drop the ruse that series regulars are becoming residents of a new state or country when they go on location, and adequately pay them for all of their relocation costs. The response is, here's some stipends which don't realistically reflect the cost of relocating out of state or out of country production. That's another thing too, I think some people may not realize. If you're not a big name like a Tom Cruise or someone like that, a lot of times they're not paying for your relocation expenses when you go on set. These are just some of the things I think that people did not know. So I know some people are just like, well, why should they deserve to go on strike? Again, the majority of actors are not millionaires. JB says, yeah, me neither. Oh yeah, I said that one. Thank you for the super sticker, Juliet. What's up, Juliet? Thank you, Trauma Queen. What do they expect when the 1% have hoarded all the money? Normal people can't afford anything. Industries are going to fall. We are all broke. Yep. Thank you, Victor. My granddad taught me as a kid that you don't cross the picket line. Don't be a scab. Your granddad was a smart man, Victor. I'll take the comment on Rockfin, and then we'll go to the next story. Thank you for the tip, Roger. It's killing me, these actors who have to take whatever job they can get, plus have to hit 26K in 1 year to qualify for healthcare in a state they do not realize the power they have. While they are out of acting work, they can run those CBIs as amendments for cow care, outlaw private equity from owning housing, and a minimum wage amendment saying minimum wage must always be 30% above housing costs. This will relieve the pressure as they can fight for other things like against AI, automation, robots, holograms, and the like. Newsom already passed public banking legislation, so regional and public banks are already being established. Quick, Sabby, give me Fran Drescher's number. She has an army of working actors that can launch these. They're killing me. I feel like an audience member yelling at the chick in the horror movie. Let's make that minimum wage law, have the state subsidize small to mid-sized businesses covering 85% to 100% of their labor costs. Thank you so much for that, Roger. And I do not have Fran Drescher's number. Sorry about that.